I've been using diatomaceous earth for decades to deworm all my animals on my homestead, but today I'm going to specifically talk about my horses. One thing we have to realize is horses are huge animals. They have a huge body, and that big, huge body can hold a huge worm load. There's so many different kinds of worms that can live in a horse's body, and also all the different stages of that worm, from egg into developing into the worm. And those worms live in different parts of the horse's body. There's like lung worms, neck worms, there's, I can't even name them all really right now, but if you look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. So for me personally, I don't want to use a chemical wormer to give that big, huge body just a pow of chemical wormer. It takes so much to get through that system and to kill all those worms. And it's just one pow of wormer. It's not an ongoing thing. So the horses just instantly start getting worms again because worms are just in our environment. That's where they get them from in the first place. So to just think you can just do it once in a while with a big pow isn't really effective. I recently read an article that said the test they do to check for internal parasites at the vet's office is not effective, completely effective, because I guess just the timing of when you do it or whatever, it might not show that the animal has worms or any worm larvae or eggs coming out in the feces, because that's what they use is the poop to do the test. And so they just can't catch them all. So chances are there's still some in there. Okay, so what I like to do is use the diatomaceous earth. For one, it's not a chemical pow, and I do it several days in a row, so it's a longer period of them getting the dewormer. When I get a horse that I've never, I just bought a new horse or whatever, it's in poor condition, you can just tell it has a worm load by the way it looks. It just looks dull, the coat is dull, the feet don't look good, it doesn't have a bright eye. But yet it's a good weight. And you're thinking, well, it looks like it's getting enough to eat. Why does it look in such poor condition? Because chances are, good chances are, it has a heavy worm load. So, you want to worm that type of a horse much longer with the diatomaceous earth. And you can just be, comfortable and calm that you're not hurting it, you're not poisoning it with a chemical wormer. And so I just want to give you an idea, a horse like that, I would probably worm, 10 days on, 10 days off for an entire year, possibly. If, depending on how quickly that horse starts looking better, bright coat, bright eyes, good feet, and just, feeling better and performing better. All right, I'm going to show you how I like to deworm the 3 horses I have, my very small herd. The reason I do this is because they're eating different foods. I have an older horse that is eating alfalfa pellets, and then I have a mule and a donkey that don't need alfalfa pellets. They need alfalfa Bermuda pellets, which is less energy, just because they need less, because they're awesome. When my horses all ate the same food, I would just mix it all in the same bucket just for convenience. So if all your horses are eating the same feed, you can just mix the diatomaceous earth in with the whole big bucket of food and then go dole it out to each horse. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I do it. I start with, these are the Bermuda pellets. I'll just show you what they look like. They're like big, fat, green pellets. What I do is I soak these until they turn into mush. I never feed these dry. I don't feel the animals have enough saliva to chew up a bucket of that and swallow it and digest that well. It's just too, who has that much saliva? Nobody, nothing. I don't think a dinosaur could chew those dry things up and do well. Okay, so I wet them, and this is what it'll look like when it's mushy. It's just, it's not watery. Like if you tip it, there's no water running out, but they've completely absorbed all the water they can. So it's just like, you can see like the little particles that they've ground up to make the pellets out of. So then next, what I'll do is I'll come over here to my diatomaceous tub that I keep at all times. just because it's more convenient than keeping it in the bag. And for the horses, I will do this 5 days in a row. So I don't measure it perfectly, so a cup. So sometimes in the spring, if I see a lot of bot flies and different flies, I'll show you. I'll do a bigger scoop like this, just depending on what I'm seeing in the environment. So you don't have to be like so precise like a scientist. But definitely a 1 cup, definitely 1 full cup. Okay, so the key here now is, I'll come over here with my big spoon. It's so funny, this is my big horse spoon I've had this thing forever. But what I do is I'll mix this into these pellets. Now I want to mix it well so it's distributed evenly because I'm going to be, you know, I want them all to get the diatomaceous earth in every bite I give them. And the reason I started doing it like this as well is, you know, you can really dole it out evenly when your horses are eating different foods. Sometimes they share. You don't want them to share. So, I mean, if you really want to get each individual horse to have warmer and you want to make double, triple sure, this is the most convenient way to do it. And it's so funny, if you turn around, if Scott turns around, they're going to start lining up at the gate, even for this little, you know, little bit of stuff here. They're like, oh, a goodie's coming. Mommy's mixing with the big spoon. Okay, so you don't want that diatomaceous earth to make this too dry. So if it's looking like super dry and if it clumps, then just add a little more water to it. I want to point out how good they look, how like you can tell their fur, and even with a winter coat, they're shiny, bright-eyed. It's a great weight. They clear eyes. They just look really good. Even the donkey here, you can see his donkey fur, which is very, very coarse fur. He still looks shiny. He's got a little sheen to him. As you can see, they have great feet. And I don't really feed them any vitamins. They don't get any grain. All they eat is hay and these pellets. And they just look so good. A lot of people overdo it with the horses, and I always say less is more. They have a great friendly attitude and everything's good with them. So you can see how just simple foods that they would normally eat, grasses, different grasses, and then deworming them keeps them really healthy. I want to say that donkeys and mules are a little trickier in the sense that it's harder to deworm them. They have such a sturdy, good body, and so sometimes you do have to deworm them longer to get the worm load out of them, which is so easy. So it's not like a problem. You just have to know that in your mind and then just deworm them a little longer. Once they're dewormed and looking pretty good like these guys, you don't have to, like I said, I'll just do it 5 days in a row, maybe 2-3 times a year, depending how they look and how the insect population is. If it just seems like a real buggy year, you know, I might do it a little more. And if everything's looking good, I might do it a little less. Okay, so you can see how easy that was to deworm your horses with the diatomaceous earth. Buy the same high quality, fresh water diatomaceous earth that I use, and you can click the link below and purchase that same diatomaceous earth and have it delivered to your home.